very organic manner. Years back when I was in Bay Area, I was looking at some of the old documents in my computer. And when I opened my master thesis, I've noticed I dedicated it for vulnerable children of Africa. And I told to myself, Emre, actions speak louder than words. And I decided to do something good for Africa. And that's how the idea of coming to Africa came into my mind. There was only one African person I knew at that time. Her name is Jordanos. I talked to her. I said, Jordanos, I will go to Africa. And I'm looking for a country with high population, interesting culture, English speaking, and safe. And she said, Emre, you are describing Ethiopia.
Okay, very nice.
And she is from Ethiopia. So that's why I took her word, you know. So I came here without knowing anybody on the ground. And while I was, making the plan to visit Africa, I've realized that in volunteering, it is better to do something in your area of expertise. Because in the other fields, you are like a normal person, an average person. But in your field, you have more experience, so you can do more. So I thought of what can I do the best. Well, I was good at getting offers from top tech companies. So I was a competitive programmer in the past, and I enjoyed, having conversations, offers, choosing among them. So I decided to pass this know-how to some African students who wouldn't have otherwise. Because I am a huge believer of talent is everywhere, but the opportunity is not. So based on where we are born in the world, it decides so many factors about our life. And I really believe in the potential of humankind. I think, there are smart, high potential people all over the world, in Ethiopia, Germany, in Japan, in the United States. And if we connect them with high quality education and opportunities, they can thrive further. And likewise, if you turn the picture upside down, like if you bring Einstein and put in a village in Africa where he doesn't have access to clean water, that he has to walk 2 hours in one direction every day to bring water, how much can he thrive? So in that regard, I wanted to make a point by connecting these high potential students with the know-how I have, and then show the world that when we give these people the opportunity, they can shine. And that's exactly how things played out. So I notified Jeff D. He's a very high-level engineer at Google. Like on a scale from 1 to 10, he's level 11. He was leading Google research for a while. Like he's like Chuck Norris for Google, kind of very legendary character. And even if we worked in the same floor for 2 years, of course, he was a colonel in the army and I was a private, when I was back in Google, so I didn't know him. But luckily, when I started working at Liftoff after Google, my friends introduced me to Palo Alto Adult Soccer League. I love soccer, in Europe we call football. And Jeff Dean was also playing in the same league. So after training students for about 3 months in Ethiopia, I emailed him. So I told Jeff, this is what we are doing. Like I've trained some people here. All we want is the opportunity. We don't want any positive discrimination. Could you please help us set up interviews for these great African fellows? And he was kind enough to connect me with the right people. And 22 students got interviews with Google at that time, first group students. So in the history of the school, there was nobody who made internship at Google as a software engineer. Out of 22 students, 6 of them passed Google software engineering interviews with a little more than 3 months of after-school studies. Like this actually shows how much of his potential is sitting there, but there is no one to guide them who has the know-how in terms of what skills are needed, how to sharpen those skills with what type of studies. So when we created that environment and pushed them and guide them in such a short amount of time, they were able to grow. So my dream at that time was staying in Africa 3 to 6 months and going back to Bay Area and, doing stuff with my friends over there, starting a company, etc. But when I have seen the impact potential, because in just 3 months, we've changed 6 people's lives, right? And the other 22, indeed, they have also learned a lot, like the remaining 16. So in the second round of interviews, after 6 months, 13 of them passed. So this is actually shown. It's not like some people are great, some people are not. No, it's like a marathon. Some people finish it faster. Some people need a little more time to complete. So then one thing led to another. Google has noticed the potential in the program. Like they were hiring people for their Ghana office. They interviewed 7 people from A2SV. Prior to that, they couldn't hire anybody. And out of those 7 people, 6 people passed the interviews. So they had only 3 seats.
Wow.
They had to move 3 people to Ireland office. And then they are like, hey, Emre, we love this program.
Nice.
We can give you money. Can you train talent for us in Africa? I'm like, well, they also said, do you have a nonprofit? I said, I don't have a nonprofit, but I love helping people. So this is something I do with joy. Should we start a nonprofit? They said, yes. So that's how A2SV got incorporated in 2021. So we started operations in 2019, and in 2021, we got incorporated. And then one thing led to another. So today, when we take a look at A2SV picture, we have a tech academy and incubator. Through the tech academy, we partner with the top African public universities. And then we train their high potential university students with after school studies. So the students continue their normal education. On top of that, we give them the skills that they need to thrive at the top of the industry. So some of these skills are technical: data structures, algorithms, problem solving, code reviews, debugging, documentation. And some of those skills are soft skills, like public speaking, written communication, prioritization, time management. So we work on those. And as you know, great things take time. So we don't see a big change in one day, but consistent, hard, and smart work. In the end, we see that everybody elevates. So up to this date, we've trained over 800 students. We have partnerships in Ethiopia and Ghana in person education. Rwanda wants us this year, so hopefully we will expand to Rwanda as well. And we have also initiated our incubator, because at A2SV, we are not just about education. If education does not touch the real life by delivering some real world solution, I don't think it actually satisfies its full mission. So theory is great. There are many academic people who are working on the theory, but I love, making practical impact. And as organization, we also build digital projects that are becoming products, which are benefiting African people and businesses. So through the incubator arm, we are also building these projects. So we mentioned about Tech Academy, we mentioned about incubator, and the third pillar of A2SV, which is the last, events. Because in time, like we started with building tech talent and then we added the projects. Then we have realized that the mission where this is going is building a thriving tech ecosystem for Africa. Because we have seen in the other continents, in Europe, in Asia, in the United States, in America continent overall, technology helps us to have better lives. Like we make things more efficient. Mm-hmm. And the same results can come to Africa as well. Like for example, in healthcare, there are every year 300,000 preventable deaths happening in Africa. So if those incoming babies and expecting mothers were in another continent, they didn't have to die. So these are preventable causes. Somewhere else in the world, we have found the solution, but we don't have the infrastructure, technology, whatever, to apply those solutions in Africa yet. So technology can even save lives. And of course, it can make life remarkably better in many ways. That's why our objective is contributing to building a tech ecosystem. So we do this by raising talent, building projects, and hopefully we can merge this with capital. There will be bigger impacts we are going to do in the future, like in the upcoming years. Like in a nutshell, this is the story of A2SV Austin.
Amazing. That's quite the story. I am really curious on the structure of like all those different components of your business. Obviously you have the nonprofit component, and then you're also talking about raising capital for like a lot of those projects in the future. Do you see that staying as a nonprofit, or are you going to also have kind of like a for-profit piece of the business that will be able to build that tech ecosystem as well and create that capital.
So, like in our incubator, our objective is those projects to become standalone companies in the future. Like at the beginning, they need support. Like as you know, we need more support in the beginning of a journey. Like right now, nobody needs to teach me how to walk. But when I was a baby, my parents were trying hard to do that. I needed support at that time, right? So we believe that the same thing applies to startups as well. At the beginning of the journey, the emerging leaders, they need more support. Mentally, physically, monetary, they need more support. So at A2SV, we want to give these projects that support and care. And even if that's a startup studio with the language of the, let's say, market, we want to call it incubator. The reason is we really believe in the process of incubation. So the chicken sits on the egg, waits, waits, waits. It doesn't crack in one day, right? Until the right time comes, the incubation continues. That's why we call this arm incubator, because we believe in the mission of these projects. Adot is helping pregnant women to get up-to-date healthcare information, track their vitals, have a communication channel with midwives and gynecologists. We believe in this mission. So the product market fit may not be there yet, but in time we will get there, and then this is going to change many people's lives. SkillBridge is utilizing generative AI to help high school students to study better for their university entrance exam, to learn the topics better. So right now it's not used by millions, it's used by tens of people every day. It has about 2,000 users. But we know, like day by day, the product is getting better. So soon after, some of those products will be successful enough to stand alone by themselves. And then, depending on their domain, some are going to be non-profits if they are for impact and they can attract donations, etc. And some are going to be for-profit businesses because there is a great money-making model. They will make more money and they will impact more people's lives by doing positive contributions with the profit that they are making. So at A2SV, we will have for-profit organizations as well as non-profit organizations coming out of our incubator. But the main holding organization, A2SV, is going to stay non-profit. Because we don't want to make money from education.
Amazing.
The whole idea was to democratize the opportunity, like to give it to people that they wouldn't have otherwise. And we will stick with that. We are not going to charge money for our education. It will be free. And the profit that the other projects are going to make is going to help sustain the academy as well.
Amazing. And with the talent that you're kind of expanding into different like African countries, which is really powerful. What do you see as the long-term vision that you're talking about where you're building that tech ecosystem? So you have the incubator, but what about the talent side of it? Do you want to expand all over Africa first and then maybe to different continents?
Well, since we are Africa to Silicon Valley and the biggest work that we need to do in the overall world, like I love thinking about our planet without borders. Borders are not God-given, they are human ideas. And like any ideas, you can agree or disagree. So I really like looking at our planet without borders. And when I do that, there are underdeveloped areas everywhere. In some top countries, there are some underdeveloped areas. We need to make work there as well. But continent-wise, definitely Africa is the continent with most work required, in my opinion. Therefore, our priority is covering Africa first. But like we are a US nonprofit, and in the US also there are different, let's say, pilots we want to start. Like especially for people coming from disadvantaged geographical areas. We are also considering some partnerships and pilot programs in the US as well. But right now our priority is Africa. In the next 5 years, it will stay as Africa. After that, once we have great results in Africa, then we would love to expand our horizons with the other continents.
Okay, nice. One thing I'm always curious about with talking to business owners and organization owners, like with your timeline of your goals, they're very lofty goals. Where do you think you will be as an organization like by the end of 2025? What's kind of the main priority right now?
So first off, Rwanda expansion. We are going to sign memorandum of understandings with two universities in Rwanda and initiate A2SV in-person education programs there. So that's number one. Number two, like for our operational headquarters, we've been utilizing what we have in Ethiopia in the last 5 years. But unfortunately, we don't see the necessary support from the rich people, from the government. This is not the easiest country in Africa, you know. So I love Ethiopian culture. I love Ethiopian people. But if the land is not, let's say, fertile for our operations, we may have to move our operational headquarters to another African country. So currently we are in talks with Rwanda, Ghana, and Ethiopia. Still, you know, I love Ethiopian people. Therefore, this is not something easy for me. If Ethiopia provides what we need, then we will be here. This is another, let's say, milestone that is coming for A2SV. Personally, how it is going to affect me, where am I going to live as the head of the organization. So we'll see. There are possibilities. So in Ghana, we are in touch with Ministry of Education. He's a great guy. They had elections in December. He has a vision for the country. He wants to see A2SV operations in 5 universities in Ghana. And he's connecting us with development partners this year. They'll have budget from the ministry next year, which is great. In Rwanda, ICT minister, Miss Paula, she's another amazing leader I met. So Rwanda is a very, very different place. It really doesn't feel like Africa. Like I'm originally Turkish. I am ashamed to say that, but in some senses it looks better than Turkey. So I'm really impressed, you know, what they have achieved with what they have. There is a visionary leadership. Resources are used well. They invest in people, which is important in my opinion. So I'm excited for, A2SV Rwanda Chapter 2. Anything else in 2025? Well, so we have been organizing A2SV Hackathon, which is the largest tech competition in the continent. So this year we are going to organize the third one. And we are inaugurating a new type of an event, African Tech Leadership Summit, ATLS. So we are going to have the first edition. The objective is to bring together industry leaders, philanthropists, politicians, like decision makers, investors, so that there can be actionable partnerships and collaborations after. So it's not just going to be about talk. This is usually what happens in many of such kind of summits. So this event is going to be action-oriented. After interactions, we are going to help people, organizations to decide on the next steps. So that, that is going to create momentum and movement. Because what I'm seeing, like with these, let's say, communications in different countries, there are many great, kind-hearted people in Africa and organizations. If we bring them together, if they utilize each other's strengths better, resources better, we can get to the better results faster. So this is another important milestone that is coming in the year of 2025.
Okay, very nice. Last question I have is around you've talked about some of them just with like the government and like the organization setup, but in terms of actually growing the organization and hitting your goals, what are some of the big challenges that are coming your way right now?
Funding. Like one thing I have learned throughout these 5 years, impact doesn't attract money. Like if people calculate SROI of A2SV, it's out the roof, man. Like we give them this highly monetizable skills. Some of these people take jobs at big tech, making 6-figure money, which is not even a dream for many Africans. Some take remote jobs, make very decent money. Like we build these impactful projects and still we are asked to give money, rather than getting contributed because we are doing government's job. We provide free high quality education. Now still government organizations are asking us, hey, where is the rent? So definitely impact doesn't attract money. At least I can say this is the case in Africa. Like I had a meeting with one of the board members of Qatar Foundation. like a great foundation. They manage billions of dollars. And this is the question I'm asked. Emre, there is a program in Morocco. They train one student for $300. You train one student for $3,500. Why would I work with you? I can train 10 students, more than 10 students with that program. I don't want to say anything to this, because in the nonprofit
Yeah.
world, it's about numbers, man. They don't care what happens after the education. Like with $300 education, good luck placing people to Google. Like how often you find somebody crazy like me who's gonna give up on, high six-figure compensation, go to another country, deal with all the difficulties. Like people are trying to get out of Africa, right? We see this. They take risks with their lives on their boats. They try to pass Mediterranean. They know that they may die, but they still take that risk. Why? They are not stupid. It means the conditions at home are not great. That's why they try to get out. So in that regard, impact definitely doesn't attract funding. Our biggest challenge is funding. Like with my career in Silicon Valley, with my connections, if I'm struggling this much, with these results, like there are 70 plus offers from top tech companies, man, 35 people working at Google. So if there is another organization who is doing better job in tech education than we do, I am ready to give up today. I'm telling that it's not the easiest continent. I had a very comfortable life in Bay Area. I love California. I love going to beach, going to hike every weekend, playing in Palo Alto at our soccer league, getting my stuff from the farmer's market, grilling my steak, my wild king salmon. It's an enjoyable life, I'll be honest. So funding is a very big challenge. I hope some kind-hearted Africans or non-Africans can hear us and help us. Like in September, our money finished. Since September, we are not able to pay salaries. We give people loans for their life necessities, hoping that the corporate funding is going to come. So like with Google, we are very close. They cut our second year funding by half. So now we are asking them to support us. They continue hiring people from us. I hope that that's going to conclude. With Bloomberg, it passed 2 years. Like 2023 February, we started funding conversations. Still, they are not able to give us a timeline. Like I say, hey guys, like we are on bare minimum. We lost many of our stuff. Like this is survival for us. Unfortunately, they cannot give us a timeline. So it is what it is at the moment. I hope they are going to conclude soon and we'll get back to normal.
Yeah, very challenging. Well, I know we're at time. I really appreciate you hopping on and